All right, let's jump right in. What if I told you that everything you believe about your future, your career, your savings, all of it is built on a lie? That the rules you've been playing by are already obsolete? Because today, we're going to pull back the curtain on how the world is changing, maybe faster than you can even see.
So, let me ask you, and be honest with yourself. How secure do you really feel? I mean, right now. Do you feel confident that your job will still be here in 5, 10 years? Are you sure that money you've tucked away is actually safe? You see, we've all been living with these comfortable assumptions. But the very foundation they're built on, it's starting to show some serious cracks.
And here's the kicker. This isn't some sci-fi movie scenario, something we need to worry about down the road. No. The truth is, the game has already changed. The rules got rewritten while most of us weren't even paying attention.
So that brings us to our first section, the Great Deception. And this is all about that huge gap, that canyon, really, between the stability we think we have and the fragile reality of the systems we depend on every single day.
I mean, look at this. On one side, you've got the story we're all told, the one we tell ourselves, right? My job is safe. My money's secure. The system's got my back. It's a nice, cozy belief. But then, you look at the reality, and it's a completely different picture. Massive disruption isn't coming. It's here. The system is fragile. And the old rules, they just don't apply anymore.
And if you want to see just how fragile things are, just look at this one number, $36 trillion. That is the jaw-dropping amount of debt the U.S. government is currently wrestling with. And listen, this isn't just an American issue. It's a sign of a global system that's basically addicted to debt. It's a massive bubble just waiting for a pin. And that old game of just kicking the can down the road for the next generation to deal with, yeah, that game is just about over.
Okay, so that brings us to our second section, the rise of infinite intelligence. Because that economic shakiness, that's only part of the story. It's being thrown into hyperdrive by the biggest disruptor of our lifetime. The source material for this explainer calls it infinite intelligence. And let's be really clear here. This is not just another piece of tech. It's a whole new way the world is about to operate.
You know, if you look at human history, it's marked by these huge shifts, these ages. You had the agricultural age, the industrial age, then the information age. Each one completely turned the world upside down. Well, get ready. We are now stepping into the next one, the intelligence age. And this isn't just like getting a software update for your phone. No, this is like swapping out the entire operating system of society itself.
So what exactly is infinite intelligence? Well, think of it as AI, but on a level we can barely comprehend. We're talking about intelligent systems that can tap into a practically limitless pool of data. They can learn, they can reason, and they do it instantly. All without the hang-ups, the biases, and the limits of our own, very human brains.
And this leads to honestly, a pretty terrifying thought. A direct quote from the source material is this: "Your finite intelligence is becoming worthless. The value of a human is going to zero." Just let that sink in for a second. Our ability to think and solve problems, the thing that has always given us value, is on the verge of being outmatched. So what happens next?
Let's just put it side by side. It's pretty stark. Our human intelligence, it's finite. We've only got so much data to work with, we're full of biases, we're kind of slow, and man, do we forget things. Now look at infinite intelligence. It's got limitless data. It's objective, it's instantaneous, and it remembers everything. When you look at it that way, it's not even a fair fight. Okay, so if these threats are so massive and so real, why isn't everyone freaking out? Well, that brings us to section 3. The illusion of belief. The biggest thing holding most of us back isn't something out there, it's in here. It's our own mind. It's the psychological conditioning that acts like a blindfold, stopping us from seeing the tidal wave that's not just on the horizon, it's about to crash on the shore.
And here's a fantastic example of what that conditioning looks like. In India, there's this incredibly famous advertising slogan, "Mutual funds sahi hai." It basically means mutual funds are the right choice. It has been hammered into the public consciousness so relentlessly that for millions of people, it's not advice anymore. It's just a fact.
An unquestioned truth that's been programmed right into their thinking. But you have to ask the question, right? That belief, mutual funds are always right, is based on one thing: how things worked in the past. So what happens when the next big crash isn't caused by something we've seen before? What happens when it's driven by this perfect storm of infinite intelligence and historic debt? All of a sudden, looking in the rearview mirror isn't going to help you see the cliff that's right in front of you.
So, what are the telltale signs of a conditioned mind? Well, it's always looking for shortcuts, for the easy answer. It's about following the crowd, sticking to the accepted story. It's about automatically shutting down any opposing ideas without really thinking them through. It's about wanting to stay in that comfortable little dream world and avoiding anything that feels like a difficult truth. And look, if any of that sounds a little bit familiar, you're not alone. We're all wired this way. But this is the exact mindset that leaves us totally exposed right now.
At the end of the day, it really boils down to a fundamental choice between two mindsets. On one side, you've got the consumer mindset. That's where you just passively take in information, you look for comfort, you run from challenges. That path, unfortunately, leads to becoming obsolete. But the other option, that's the creator mindset. That's about actively creating value, hunting for the truth, and actually leaning into challenges. And that is the path to making yourself indispensable. So the big question is, how do you make that switch? How do you go from being a consumer to a creator? Well, that's what our final section is all about. Section 4, the warrior's choice. This is the roadmap for developing the mindset you need to not just get by in this new world, but to actually win. And it all starts with this incredibly powerful, ancient piece of advice. If you want peace, get ready for war. Now, obviously, we're not talking about a literal war. This is a metaphor for the internal battle, the fight you have to wage against your own conditioning, your own comfortable beliefs, so you can actually prepare for a world that's going to be pretty chaotic. Real peace, real security, it isn't something you can just wish for. It's something you have to earn.
So what does this warrior's path actually look like? Well, here it is. Step 1. You have to face the harsh realities. Just stop living in that dream world. Step 2. Question absolutely everything. I mean everything, especially the beliefs you hold most dear about money, career, and safety. Step 3. You have to learn to use AI as your weapon. Make it a tool that serves you, not something that's going to replace you. And finally, step 4, the most important one, become a creator. Build things, solve problems. Create value that's uniquely human, value that comes from your creativity, your empathy, things an AI just can't copy. And that's where we'll leave it, with one final question for you to think about. This great reset, it's not on its way, it's already here. The old world is disappearing right before our eyes. So, in the new world that's being built as we speak, which one are you going to be? A liability or an asset? A consumer or a creator? The choice ultimately is yours. Thanks for joining this explainer.